Okay, so let's start with the box and whisker plot. A box plot, also called a box and whisker plot, is a way to show the spread and centers of a dataset. Okay, measures of spread and measures of center. When we say measures of spread, this include the interquartile range and the mean of the dataset. Okay, and furthermore, measures of spread can also be called as the measures of variation or measures of variability or measures of dispersion. Okay, the main measures of this of spread are the variance and the standard deviation, but we are not concerned with the variance and the standard deviation. No, we are only to apply or to use the interquartile range, okay, to describe our data. And second, we have the measures of center or the measures of central tendencies. The major measures under the central tendencies are the mean, median, and the mode. Okay, but in this case, we're only concerned with the measure of the median, okay, the middle value of the data set. Yeah. Now, this is how the box and whisker plot looks like. The box and whisker. So see that we have here 5 values. We have 5 values. Let's start with the minimum value. This is the smallest, the lowest value of your data. We have the first quartile or the lower quartile, the median, the middle value of your distribution, the third quartile, and lastly, the maximum value. And what is the property of such an illustration? Let's say for example, ganito tayo, no? Now consider your scores in midterm exam, for example. Your scores in your midterm exam in mathematics in the modern world. Let's arrange your scores from lowest up to the highest. Okay? Out of 40, ang lowest score is, for example lang ha, is 10, with the highest score of 38. Okay? So this is the range of your midterm exam scores. Okay, 10 to 38. Now, we wanted to separate or divide your scores into some equal parts. Okay? We wanted to separate your scores, for example, into 4 equal parts. So that malalaman natin yung proportions. Okay? This is 4 equal parts. This is the middle score. So 50% below and another 50% above. And another portion here, this is the score that is higher than the 25% but lower than the 75%. Alright, we call this as, since we are based from 4 equal divisions, we are actually talking about quartiles. Okay, quartiles, measures of location based from 4 equal divisions. So this must be our first quartile. Okay, first quartile. Again, this separates the lower 25% and the upper 75%. Okay, next we have the second quartile. The second quartile, it separates the lower 50 and the upper 50. Lower 50 and upper 50. Since it is found at the middle of the distribution, this also serves, our second quartile also serves as the median of the distribution. The median. Okay. And then we have the third quartile. The third quartile. This is the score that is higher than the lower 75%. A lower 75%. And also, this is the score that is lower than the upper 25%. Kasi 25 yung proportions natin eh. 25%, 25, 25, and another 25. And then lastly, this is your fourth quartile. Okay, the highest value, the highest point, the highest score among your group. Okay, the highest score. So this is the score that is higher than 100% of the distribution. Okay, so this will be your reference, no? This will be your reference. The box always starts at your first quartile. Okay, first quartile. And we'll identify the middle value. Ay, lalagyan natin ng separation just to separate our first quartile to the median and median to the third quartile. But do not always assume na nasa middle siya. Nasa midway ng first and the third quartile. Later on, I'll show you, I'll illustrate to you. And then we have the left whisker. And the end of that left whisker is actually your minimum value. Okay, the lowest value. And the right end of your right whisker is your maximum value, or also known as the fourth quartile. Okay, so we have now your box and whisker plot. So you need to identify 4 or 5 measures: the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the maximum. We call this as the 5-number summary. The 5-number summary. Going back to our presentation, ito yan. I already discussed this, and here are the formula we used to locate the first quartile, the median, and the third quartile. Take note, this is only the location. Okay, so once we found the location, we'll now identify the first quartile score, the median, and the third quartile score. So take note of this formula. Okay, this is what I'm trying to explain to you a while ago. And one thing more pala, this is the interquartile range. The interquartile range is actually here. This is your interquartile range. Interquartile range from this point up to this point. To find the interquartile range, just get the difference between the third quartile and the first quartile. Let's have examples na para mas maintindihan natin. I draw a box and whisker plot for the data set given by this, for example, scores or values. So you have to draw the box and Whisker plot. But before that, the first thing to do is to arrange your data in sequential order from the lowest up to the highest. So I'll be needing your help here. Kindly identify or arrange these values in sequential order. What is the lowest value?
3 po,
3
sir.
po.
Okay,
3, sir.
3. Next.
5 po. 7, 8.
7 po.
Plus 12, 13. 14, 18. 21 po.
And then 21. Let us confirm. We have how many values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. So we have 9. That would be your n. Okay, that would be your n. N is the number of items, the number of values, or the number of scores in a given distribution. So n is equal to 9. With that, we can now identify our 5-number summary. 5-number summary. So we need to identify our minimum value. In this case, what is the minimum?
3, sir.
Okay, 3. Next, first quartile. And the formula in locating the first quartile is n plus 1 over 4. Since we are based from 4 equal divisions now, the quartiles. Quartiles is based from 4 equal divisions. Okay. So our n is 9. So plus 1. We have 4. And this is 10 over 4. What is 10 over 4? You may use your calculator.
6 po.
6 over 4 ha? Over 4.
2.5 po.
2.5. Take note, this is the location. So lagyan natin ng
2.5.
ng order. 2.5. 2.5. Meaning to say, the first quartile score is between the second and the third. Ay, kasi may 0.5 tayo eh. Okay, so we'll consider the midpoint or middle value of the second and the third. So let's identify the second item and the third item. Okay, the second and the third. So we may now identify our first quartile. What is the second item?
5, sir.
The third item?
7.
And to find the midpoint, you need to add the two values divided by 2. Or it's the other way of saying that you must get the average between the second and the third item. Okay, the average or midpoint. So 5 plus 7 is 12 over 2. We have now 6. This will be your first quartile, the lower quartile. Question?
None po.
Okay, none. Next, the median. The median. To locate median, we can use the formula n plus 1 over 2. Since we are based from two equal divisions, no, 50% below, 50% above. So we are dividing the distribution into exactly half. Okay, exactly half. Where n is 9 again, we have 9 plus 1 over 2. We have 10 over 2. Oops, I forgot to write equals. 10 over 2 is, oops, yan. So exactly to, no, exactly. The median is found at the fifth item. The median is found at the fifth item. So therefore, the median is equivalent to, what is the fifth item?
12 po.
12. This would be your median. Okay, next. We have the third quartile. So formula ulit. The formula is given by 3 times n plus 1 over 4. Okay, over 4. So that is 3 times 10. Lagay ko ng 10 kaagad ha. Over 4. Or that is 30 over 4. What is 30 over 4?
7.5 po.
7.5 po.
7.5. So the same as the first quartile, the third quartile is the value between the 7th and the 8th. Okay, the value between the 7th and the 8th. Therefore, the third quartile is equivalent to, what are the 7th and the 8th values? Ayan. We have 14 and
14 and 18 po.
18. 14 and 18 over 2. What is 14, 18? 20. 20 ba?
32 po, sir.
32. So this is 16. Hi, 16. And then lastly, to complete our 5-number summary, we'll now to identify our maximum value. What is the highest point
21 po.
or score? That would be 21. Okay, so we have 3, 6, 12, 16, and 21. We may now draw your box and whisker plot. Okay. So here, I won't ask you to be accurate, no? I won't require you to be accurate. Just approximate their position. Okay? And in constructing your box and whisker plot, always start from drawing your box. Okay? Mag-draw tayo ng box. Okay, let's say this one. This is your box. So this means the box starts at your, or the left end of your box is actually your first quartile. Okay, the first quartile is 6. Okay, the right end of your box is actually our third quartile, which is 16. Okay, which is 16. Now, let's identify kung saan nating ilalagay si median. Which do you think is median, or in which value does or the median is closer to? Is median closer to the first quartile or the third quartile?
Third, sir.
Third po.
Okay. Closer si median kay third quartile. Meaning to say, we will uh, we will draw the median somewhat closer to the third quartile. Kasi konti lang naman yung difference nila, no? Konti lang yung difference nila. So, somewhat closer lang. Let's say here. Ayan. This would be your median. Okay. So median, let me just use MD. Our median is 12. All right. Next, the whiskers. The whiskers. Now, let us be specific with the length of whiskers as well. So, ano yung mas mahaba? Is it the right whisker? That's one. The right whisker or the left whisker? So, let's identify that. Observe this information and compare that to this. Which do you think is shorter? The left whisker or the right whisker?
Right, sir.
Mas maikli, ha? Mas maikli.
Left po, sir.
Ah,
Third quartile, sir.
anong third quartile? Let me ask again, no? Observe nyo yung mga information na to, or specifically the difference between the first and the minimum and the maximum with the third quartile. Okay? Compare nyo yung differences nila. Let's say, for example, the difference of 6 and 3 is 3. Diba? 6 minus 3 is 3. Compare nyo sa difference ni 21 and 16.
Upper, sir. First.
Okay, so as you can see, this is shorter. Okay, the left whisker must be shorter compared to the right whisker. So we'll now draw the left whisker. Okay, si 3, no? Si 3 mas malapit kay 6. Ayan. And longer si right whisker. Ayan. Okay, we now have your box and whisker plot. This is 3. This is 21, right? 21. The minimum and the maximum value. This is your box and whisker plot. Your interquartile range is found here. Yeah, this is your IQR. And is said to be that this IQR is the 50%. This is the 50% of the total distribution. Okay? And the rest were evenly distributed sa left and sa right. No, this is 25%. So 25% of the distribution is lower than 6 but greater than 3, and another 25% of the distribution is greater than 16 but lower than 21. So ito yung titignan natin. Exactly half of the distribution falls within the first and the third quartile. First and the third quartile. Okay. Any question?
None po, sir.
Wala po, sir.
Okay. Now, this is a more accurate presentation of the data. This time, mayroon na tayong number line. So, specific tayo, no? And accurate yung mga, yung summary natin as to the minimum value. We have the first quartile, we have the median, we have the third quartile, and the maximum value. Okay. And next. More example. So we need to arrange this first into sequential order. What is the lowest? Next.
5 po.
7, 8 po.
3, sir.
12 double 14 po, sir. 15, 18, 21 po.
21.
Okay, what is our N?
Then po.
10.
Okay, we have 10. We have 10. Okay, we now have the 5-number summary. Minimum value.
3, sir.
3. First quartile. Location. The location of the first quartile is n plus 1, no? N plus 1, that is 11 over 4. 11 over 4. This is 2.75. So the first quartile, lagay natin para di kayo malito. 11 over 4. The first quartile is located at 2.75. Right, 2.75. This time, I'll just ask you to identify the value, the score that is nearest to this location. Okay, identify the value nearest to this location, 2.75. Therefore, we'll consider the third item. Okay, we will consider the third item. Therefore, our first quartile is, what is the third item?
7.
7 po.
We have 7. This would be your first quartile. First quartile. Always yun, ha? You are only to get the midpoint or the average if you have 0.5. Okay? But other than 0.5, you will now round off. Okay? Nag-round off tayo from 2.75 to 3. Okay? Next. Median. What is the median? Location is 11 over 2. 11 over 2 is
5.5.
5.5. So see that we all see that there is a 0.5 uli, no? So therefore, we'll consider the item, the 5th score and the 6th score. The median is in between the 5th and the 6th. So the median now is equivalent to, what is the 5th and the 6th item?
12 and 14, sir.
12 and 14. So that is over 2. 12 and 14 is
26 po.
26 over 2. Our median is
Sir.
13. Third quartile. Third quartile, that is 3 times n plus 1 all over 4. So that is 33 over 4. What is 33 over 4?
8.25 po, sir.
8.25. So the same as the first quartile, no? Identify the item nearest to 8.25. And that would be the 8th item. Okay, I repeat. Identify the value, the score nearest to this location, which happens to be the 8th item. Therefore, our third quartile is, what is the 8th item?
15, sir.
15. Okay, that's 15. And then lastly, you have the maximum value is
21 po, sir.
21. Now we now have your 5 number summary. You may want to take a screenshot of this since there's no solution na nilagay dito. Okay, there's no solution. I just enumerated the 5 number summary. Anyway, recorded naman yung session, no? So you may always review it. Ayan. So the same, this is the 5 number summary. And then we have the box and whisker plot. Okay, more example. Example number 3. Suppose that the box and whisker plots below represent quiz scores out of 25 points for quiz number 1 and quiz number 2 for the same class, let's say C104. What do these box and whisker plots show about how the class did on the test number 2 compared to test number 1? Here are the box and whisker plots. Ayan, this is your test number 1 and test number 2. Okay? Test number 1 and test number 2. Let's determine whether you improve or not. Or the same. Or hindi kayo nag-improve. Mas bumaba pa. What do you think? Observe that during test 1 and test 2, we have the same lowest score and highest score. We have the same lowest score and the highest score. So your scores were distributed from 3 to 21. 3 to 21. Next, test 1 and test 2 also have the same median. Okay, yung median natin. So, for example, if you were 31, then 15 students who nakakuha ng below 12, and there are also 15 students who got who get 12 or above 12 for both test, no? Kasi 50-50 tayo eh. Kung 31 students kayo, then 15 yung sa baba, 15 din yung sa taas. Okay? 31 being the middle. I mean, the midpoint of 31 is at the, ano ba yung midpoint ng 31? So, 31 plus 1 is 32 over 2. Okay, dito natin makikita yung midpoint. Nasa 16th. Okay. At the same time, we also have the same third quartile. Okay, third quartile. This means we have the same number of students who got lower than 16. And we also have the same number of students who got higher than 16. The only difference is that they, the first quartile, the only difference between the two tests were the first quartile. Now, what does this imply? Sige nga. What does this imply? Let me ask you this. In test number 1, what proportion of C104 got 6 or above? Or 6 and above na lang. What proportion of your class got 6 and above in test number 1? Anyone? Si 104. Percentage. Percentage yung hinahanap ko na proportion.
100%,
Ilang percent?
sir.
Yung nakakuha ng 6 and above. May nakakuha pa ng 3 points dito eh. O, diba? Meron pa tayong students na nakakuha ng 3 to 6. So what percent?
25.
What's that? I heard it pero mahina.
25%.
25? Is it 25?
75.
75. Hey, di ba this is the first quartile? Therefore, this is the score higher than the lower 25%, denoted by our left whisker. At the same time, this is a score that is lower than the upper 75%. So meaning to say there are 75 or 75% of the students got 6 or above 6. Okay, 6 or and above. Okay, how about in second test? How about in second test? How many? What percent of the class got 9? Diba? Nasa 9 yon. 9 above. 9 and above. Test number 2. What percent of the class got 9 and above? C102 students. C104, I should say. C104. Percentage.
$65, sir.
55. Ba't naging
65, sir.
55?
65.
Ba't 65? Bakit naging 65? Eh, pareho naman silang first quartile. Magkaibang test nga lang. What happened? We have the same proportion. Sa test number 2, there are 75 or 75% got 9 and above. Diba? Nasa first quartile din si number 9. Yun nga lang, ibang test na siya. Makita nyo? This is still our first quartile. Specifically for test number 2. This is our first quartile in test number 1. Okay? So, same proportion lang yung tinitignan natin, no? Pero, tumaas. Okay, tumaas yung, kumbaga, yung, what do we call this? Kumbaga, tumaas yung point natin sa first quartile. This means to say that during test number 1, 75% or majority of the students got 6 and above. But in test number 2, majority or 75% of the students got 9 and above. So malaking difference yun, guys, no? Malaking difference yun. Mas tumaas yung or nag-improve yung performance ng mga bata during test number 2. Okay? That's it. That is how you interpret the box and whisker plot or compare box and whisker plot. All right. Question? C104 question?
None, sir.
Clear sa atin ang box and whisker plot, no? Let us now proceed to stem and leaf plot. Stem and leaf plots are wala yung A and there's no and there should be S. Stem and leaf plots are methods for showing the frequency with which certain classes of values occur. You could make a frequency distribution table or a histogram for the values, or you can use a stem and leaf plot and let the numbers themselves to show pretty much the same information. So presenting your data using stem and leaf plot is works the same way when you present them using the frequency table or the frequency histogram. Okay. And this is how the stem and leaf plot looks like. This one. So how to interpret this? The stem is the left-hand column which contains the tenths digit. The tenths digit. So this would be the tens, 20s, 30s, and 40s. If in case you have hundreds of values, then your stem would be the tens and the hundreds. If you have thousands values, isasama nyo yung thousands digit kay stem. Okay, depende yun sa given. The leaf, this should be leaf, are the lists in the right-hand column showing all the ones digits for each of the tens, 20s, 30s, and 40s. As you can see, the original values can still be determined, but just combine the stem and the stem and each leaf. Okay, each leaf. So this is actually 12, 13. We have 21, 27, 33, 34, 35, 37. We have 40, 40, and 41. Okay, so which means there were two two values dun sa tens natin. There were two values sa 20s, there were four values sa 30s, and there were three values sa 40s. Ayan. And since the data is already arranged in sequential order, you can easily identify the lowest value, which is 12, and the highest value, which is 41. And also, you may find the first quartile, second quartile, or the median, and the third quartile as well. This is your stem and leaf plot. Okay. Let's have an example. Okay, the same as the box and whisker plot, we need to arrange our data in sequential order. Arrange the data in sequential order. So given this grades, kindly arrange this from lowest to highest. What is our lowest grade?
42 po.
42.
67.
73. 78.
82 po.
82.
84,
84.
86,
86.
91, 94, 99.
Okay. So the range is 42 to 99. 42 to 99. We may now draw a box and whisker plot. I mean stem and leaf plot, I should say. Stem. Then we have the leaf. All right. So we'll identify first the stem. Okay, the 10th digit of the grades of the students. So we start from 40s. We have 50s para consistent yung data natin, although as you can see, there's no 50s. Okay, there's no grade within the 50s. So we have 6, 7, 8, and 9. These are your stems. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then the leaf are the ones digit for each stem. Let's say we have 42. Next we have, okay, do not write 0, no? Do not write 0. Baka i-assume nyo na since there's no such a value for 50s, ilalagay nyo 0. Okay? Just leave this stem blank. Okay? Kasi ang tendency kapag nilagay nyo 0, then there is a data there. There is a 50 dun sa distribution natin, but there is none. So let us just leave the stem number 5 blank, or stem 5 or 50s blank. 60s, we have 67, we have 73, we have 78, 82, 84, 86, we have 91, 94, and then 99. This is your stem and leaf plot. Question.
None po, sir.
None po,
Dali lang
sir.
siya, no? Okay, that's it. We're done. We're done with your box and whisker and stem and leaf plot.